And we're on. So, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Kiss Capades podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, and he has one of those very, very rare gifts. In fact, I've never heard of it before, but we bumped into each other last week.
Yes.
Same location, same place. Let's just say like within this setting. And we set up a podcast schedule with him, and I'll just let him introduce himself, what he does, and then you know the drill. I'll just take you guys through.
Awesome. My name is Mark Mbugua.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a certified personality coach.
Mm-hmm.
What that career entails is I help people understand their areas of excellence. That means what you're good at and what you're good for. What makes it spark is through your handwriting, I'm able to let you know 6 careers you can excel in. I'm able to let you know what your leadership style is, work style, reasoning style, business style, all that from your handwriting, even your top 5 colors. So today's viewers, will be amazed if you can manage to send your handwriting or share your top 5, 6 colors. You're able to know what you're good at and what you're good for.
That's very interesting. You see, and the funny thing is like when we met,
yes,
we were having a conversation. We hadn't even talked about exactly what you do.
Yes.
And you told me that your handwriting is, sideways, bit of a scribble. And
yes.
I was just like, maybe it's by luck. And then he also analyzed. You didn't even see her handwriting. First
No, I
of
didn't.
all.
I didn't see.
Yeah. So he just said what my friend's handwriting is.
Yes.
I think from her personality. Said she has 3 different ones or something.
Yes, she has.
And she was just blown away because I also didn't even know how her handwriting was. But she was like, yeah, he's actually right with what he's saying.
Sure.
And that's very, I don't know, intriguing,
It
interesting, and very rare, of course.
Yes.
That I have to say. But, I would like to know, just before we come back to your talent, right?
Sure.
When you're growing up,
Yes.
what did you want to be?
Interesting, because I had 3 careers that I needed to excel in.
Yeah.
First was news anchoring. Second was about radio personality. And third was about, at the time, it was counseling. I didn't know it was coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I noticed that I had ways in which I could communicate with people, and people could really get to understand themselves.
Yeah.
So I would say that was the form of upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
And later in life, I realized this some of the things that I could actually excel in, but I didn't know what I was still good at.
Yeah.
Back in the days, it was counseling. So I cleared school, and I have a huge story behind it.
Trust me, we have nothing but time. No, but awesome. Maybe you can just, highlight on it. Yeah.
Interesting. So, people started coming to me. That was way back in high school, Form 3. I noticed people used to come back to me and say, hey, Mark, you shared something.
Yeah.
And I felt it was quite deep. It was quite connecting. So
Mm-hmm.
could you tell me more? And by the capacity at which people came back, I realized there was something special I didn't know. So back in the days, I felt it was counseling. So I got done with school. I was 18 at the time. Mm-hmm. And I stayed home. The norms are, just do computers. And I was like, no, let me stay home for 2 months. Let me figure out what I want.
Yeah.
Then my parents at the time said, hey, you're good with people. Why don't you go and try out counseling? There's a certain institution.
Mm-hmm.
You go and try it out.
Mm-hmm.
I said, fine. I went, cut the long story short, came up with a brochure that said they take only 26 years and above. And at the time I was 18.
Oh, yeah.
So I went to the director's office and I said, you have a career that I like and your age bracket is limiting me.
Yeah.
And I need you to give me a chance.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's pretty clear. It's 26 and above and you're 18. I'm like, no. I want you to understand that you are withholding my capacity.
Yeah.
And he was convinced after 20 minutes conversation. He said, you go home, write down a letter why you know you want to do this, and just convince me.
Yeah.
Went, wrote a 3 to 4 letter foolscap, came back the following day, issued it to him. Following morning, I was in class. So basically, I'm saying
Just like that.
Just like that. I have never studied with people my age since 18. I figured out something called personality. I was like, whoa, this is something I feel it's in relation to what I do.
Yeah.
I engaged in it and I excelled in it. And just to give out my background, I'm a Christian. And I was like, I think I'm doing something a little bit more, because if you can look at how people walk and talk and tell them who they are without even having a prior contact, there must be something a little bit more.
Yeah.
So through my spiritual mentors, I figured out I had a prophetic gift. So I didn't know about it. I started studying more into it, and I realized, whoa, it came now in greater leaps. That means we could handshake with you and I tell you who you are.
That's insane.
That's insane, right?
That's insane, yeah.
So I got the privilege to then to get to harness it a little bit more and grow into it, because I say it's a prophetic gift, it's a God-given gift.
Yeah.
But I went to school to harness the gifts, because school played a part in enhancing the gift. So since then, did my BA, did my MA, started getting opportunities, and my first opportunity came through the Royal Voice. That is Johnson Mwakazi. I had an appointment with him for 5 minutes, which turned out to 5 hours.
Yeah.
He said, I just want to hear what you're about. He said, come for 5 minutes talk. And what do you tell an influential person?
Yeah. Yeah.
Within the 5 minutes. And since then, I've never looked back, got opportunities about it. And this is what I do full time. Meet people, tell them who they are, and start discussing about careers and opportunities. I've had opportunities to share about relationships, and just take this on a higher level. To be honest with you, I'm looking this at the next perhaps 10 years, where people will be hired through their handwriting.
Yep.
So that means you can walk to an office, and perhaps it's not what you studied, and that plays a part, don't get me wrong, but I'm looking at a point where people can come with their handwriting, and we can hire through that. So I've had the opportunities to go in corporates and go like, to tell the skill quality within the company, who's good for where and why, and you'll be having this live.
And funny thing is, because even with a lot of people that I'm talking to, either in corporate or just in independent businesses and stuff,
Sure.
and they're always looking to recruit new people.
Yes.
A lot of people are currently saying it's not even about skill set anymore.
Sure.
It's about self-drive and personality that play a very big role.
Huge role.
Yeah, because I'm guessing if, like, you can be good at your books and everything, but maybe the job that you're getting, you're actually supposed to put all these skills in regards to either interacting with people.
Yes.
But if you never come in contact with people and it was only books,
yes,
that as much as you're qualified, it's not the best
option.
Yes. Yeah, and even then again comes to things like what else did I can't just lose my chain of thought like that fast. Yeah, so personality, and what else was I saying?
Skill set. Now, let me pick up on those two, because those are very crucial.
Yeah.
Excuse me. If you would allow me to say this.
Yeah.
Over 90% of learning institutions are not teaching you body language in relation to your career. That is almost insane, allow me to say this. That means that you can invest in over a minimum of $500,000 or beyond, depending on what career you can engage in. You can spend 4 to 6 years in an area that will eventually trap you. because you are trapped in an area that you're not good at. And still there's an expectation of you to excel.
Since you've mentioned that, don't forget your chain of thought.
Yes.
Because that happens to me all the time.
Sure.
A lot of people, now that you've mentioned that, a lot of people, even my friends,
Yes.
what they studied in school
Yes.
is not what they're doing currently.
Yes.
And it's so insane because I have people who have gone to school and studied for over 5, 6, or 7 years. And can you imagine if they had and this is very common, I've noticed, like in, let's just say in Kenya.
Yes.
A lot of people, and even now, a lot of people who are going even in college, they have like the same thing, and they're saying that, you know what, I'm maybe just doing this because my parents want me to do this.
Yes.
And then once I'm done with the 5th or 6th year,
Yes.
I mean, I can do now
Whatever
what I
I
want.
like.
But 6 years of your life.
6 years of your life.
If you started manifesting that into something that you already like or where you're supposed to head,
Yes.
I mean,
I mean, this is why I'm passionate about what I do, because we want to have something that I call deployment, and it's a dangerous word to use, but since we have the time to explain it,
we have all the time.
deployment means that we need to wire you differently. You need to understand your wiring. Allow me to say this.
Yeah.
We translated the word IQ wrongly. IQ, as you know, it means intelligence quotient, but we classify it as academic. We want to quantify you academically. Do you know that there are about 9 types of intelligences? 9 types, which means if you are wired, for instance, this is about social media. What if you did a social media degree?
Where I spend most of my time.
Where you spend most of your time, this is your office. If you spend 4 years in this field, we know there's relevance to it.
I'd be unstoppable.
You would be unstoppable. I mean, you would wake up knowing I'm just looking for the right gadgets. I'm just looking for how to really enhance this to the next level, take it to the next level. But it's not what we have. Unfortunately,
yeah.
So these are things that we get to know along with time, which is why personality is very important. And like I said, 90% of learning institutions do not teach you body language or skill set that are in relation to career. So we need, number one, we need a deployment. We need your wiring mental a little bit differently. Now, it's important to know your type of IQ. I deal with people. And it's about letting you know what you're good at and what you're good for. That's a type of intelligence. It's a social intelligence. Now, if my academic is wired along social intelligence, then I would excel. But now perhaps what we have now is AQ, academic quotient, because now we want to say you study 4 to 6 years, fit in a career. Let's say you're doing law. Now let's try to understand this, the landscape of this. Millions of people did it before you. Millions of people are doing it the same with you. Millions of other people will do it after you. What does that mean? That means career congestion. Yet we want you to excel. So what we will have now then with this career congestion, we will have a formula for elimination, because we have many people in one targeted career. That translates to depression, because you do not know now then where I can excel. So you've done with 6 years of that. Now you want to find out something else that you can excel in. So why is personality coaching then very important? We say, now that if law is one, what are the 5 other options? And in order. So you might have been thinking legal was one. Perhaps it was your 3rd option among the 6.
Very true.
And you can know that through your handwriting. Now this even goes on another level. So why is there a delay then? Because of conditioning. What we grow thinking is the right thing. And once we grow in those congestions, we are now trapped in areas that we feel, oh my, do I have other options to it? So
let me just mention something small before we continue. Just don't forget what you're saying.
Sure.
I watched this Chris Rock stand-up because, you know, he's one of like these really smart comedians, very intelligent, and what he says is something that you can actually digest and think about it, because he was saying schools are not doing a good job because a lot of people are graduating and everything, especially like, you know, the way you can do homeschooling or take maybe your kid to a private school and everything. I was talking about how even bullying at times can contribute to how you turn out in life.
True.
Because he was saying that here's the thing. Here you have this child who hasn't come across bullying. They are on their phone or digital gadgets all the time, and very minimal social interaction. If you want food, they don't go out to buy the food. They order in. The food is brought in. Anything that you want, any service that you want now, you can do shopping and it's brought to your house. If you need to clean, you can call somebody to come and clean the house and then go. But he was explaining now you take this person who's already an adult, put them in a real life situation where now they have to face people, and your boss is an angry person. All he does is shout, scream,
yes,
and insult people in the office, which, like, you know, unfortunately, most of the time, you'll have to come across such people.
Yes.
And the first thing or interaction you have with this person would set or trigger depression immediately. Because you're like, why is he talking to me like this?
True.
I deserve better. You start talking about human rights. You start talking about anti-bullying campaign. But you just miss the little fundamentals that come across or you're supposed to go through in life. And
Absolutely.
even in another relation to that is, you mentioned law.
Yes.
Yes, you have this student who's done law for whatever number of years they're supposed to do. And I also had this very similar question for my friend, because she's a lawyer.
Yes.
So she talked about, like, you know, how she's passionate about law and everything. Plus, she's also a very strong feminist.
Yes.
And she talked about that. And then I was like, here's the thing. You're fresh out of law.
Yes.
You're working for this law firm. So the first case that lands on your table is an R. Kelly court case. What do? You can't say I'm a feminist.
True.
And I'm not going to represent this person.
Yes.
Yet, from the previous court sessions that R. Kelly has had, he's never been jailed.
Yes.
Even though people might think he's guilty,
Yes.
he's never been jailed.
Yes.
So according to the law, he hasn't done anything bad.
Yes.
So where does that leave you as a feminist who doesn't like, maybe, you know, think highly of men? Probably. Let's start with that. Maybe
Yes.
I have the wrong interpretation. But I'm just thinking all the things that will run through this person's head. Plus, yes, your boss is telling me this is the cost that you have, and we are on retainer. Go represent him in court. What happens then? You have to sit down, put your differences aside, and actually interact with this person.
True.
Find out, like, yo, is this what you did, or how we supposed to handle this?
True.
Because it's your job as a lawyer.
As a lawyer.
And as a lawyer, think about it. If you're in Kenya, if you end up in criminal law, how many people will you even have to defend that are actually guilty, and it's still going against? So it's just people interaction, and it's just something that is necessary.
Absolutely.
To be taught.
Yes.
Especially if you're going to interact with people in real life. And also, another one, just before I forget, somebody mentioned something to do with just being taught about life. Because it doesn't mean necessarily if you graduate, you're going to come out and get a good job, get married, and live happily ever after. You just mentioned it, and you said about, like, all this congestion. We're talking about careers. Journalism right now, USIU is releasing, I don't know how many students every year. Daystar, multimedia.
Yes.
But there's no space for these
There's
people.
no space.
There's no space for people on TV. There's no space for people on radio. And even on digital platforms it's
as
still
well.
very competitive. So all these people, once they come out and then they realize, oh, so I'm actually not going to get a job after I
All
have these papers.
Yes.
Yeah, I have all the qualifications. Why not? And I even had, what's her name? Rubadiri.
Mm-hmm.
And she explained it's all about self-drive.
True.
You really need to, like, just interacting with people. You can say you're an introvert for
Yes,
fun when you're in college. But once you're done with college,
True.
you have to deal with people.
Yes.
Landlords,
Yes.
neighbors, relationships,
Yes.
friends,
Yes.
workmates. You cannot escape that, because now that's where real life is.
Yes.
And that is not taught school.
In school.